Next up in the Wild Way to Lucid Dreaming, we'll be moving on to part 3 of the book, which is titled Advanced Techniques. And the first technique that he covers here, I don't know if you would really consider this an advanced technique, and I don't think he's necessarily trying to imply that either, aside from putting it as the first chapter in this part of the book. But the first technique we'll be covering here is actually the biggest head scratcher of the whole book to me. And so we'll be trying to answer the question, does lying down to go to sleep on your left side positively affect, as he tries to assert here? But I'll just kind of expand that out to say affect period, whether, you know, positively or negatively, your lucid dreaming practice. And so he writes, for instance, the side of your body on which you initially lie down to dream, left or right, for some reason produces remarkably different results in terms of the dream scenarios you will typically encounter. A left-sided sleeping position, for example, more often results in a single scenario lucid dream, whereas a right-sided sleeping position tends to produce a series of dreams in which one hops from one lucid dream to another in fairly rapid succession. This is not something for which I have an explanation other than to report that this consistently occurs for some unknown reason. So I would venture a guess here to try and reason out why I think he would be having this experience consistently, because if you cannot tell, I do not think the position that you lie down to sleep has any, noticeable effect on your lucid dreaming practice. But I would think he probably has this experience because he noticed it happen at some point, probably early on in his lucid dream practice, began to have the idea that, hey, maybe this is making a difference. And then that idea eventually blossomed into a full-on belief. And then, once you're in the land of expectation and especially in the land of belief within the realm of dreams, it's going to have a humongous effect on the type of experiences that you have in there. So if he believes that lying down on his left side makes his dream more stable and less likely to jump from one scenario to the next, he's going to get that experience. And then on the other hand, if he's lying down on his right side and he believes that this will cause the dream scenario to be constantly switching and changing on him, then he'll get that experience as well. With left-sided dreams, one is apparently very much in control of the dreaming situation from the outset, with the option of changing dreams. So, he points out how you can still change the dream purposefully even when you are sleeping on your left side. In left-sided lucid dreams, you feel fully awake and aware in every respect, which gives you time to manipulate your next moves judiciously, and to put into action any experiments you may have had in mind. Again, I just chalk that up to how lucid are you and how clear-headed are you able to think to be able to recall whatever experiment or thing that you wanted to get done within that particular dream. While sleeping on the right side, the dream seems to change all by themselves without any warning or choice on the dreamer's part. Do nothing other than observe in a right-sided dream, and you will find yourself going or hopping from one lucid dream to another in quick succession. However, it is possible if and when you so wish to get off in any one particular dream of your choice anywhere along the way during the sequence and explore that particular dream scenario in greater detail. So it does seem to be here that he can purposefully stop the dream from changing when it is on his right side from one dream scenario to the next. Okay, we'll keep going. Everything on the left side is always clear and steady and doesn't morph spontaneously into anything else. And I would probably put everything on the left side is always. I'll maybe probably change that to just most of the time, but perhaps that is always the case for him. In right-sided dreams, by contrast, the dreams themselves are far more complicated. You'll be presented with a series of often novel and very compelling dreaming situations that almost force you to interact with them. Lucidity is still full, as is full waking memory, but in these dreams there is no real volition as to what you'll be dreaming about or the situation you will find yourself in. So I do wonder here if he's talking about specifically entering into this dream like through the hypnagogic state. Because something that I've noticed playing around in hypnagogia so much is that in the early stages of hypnagogia, it is jumping from like one scenario to the next or one liminal dream to the next. It's not until you get deeper into it that it tends to become more stable and solid, like one, smoothly progressing movie scene or scenario that perhaps it is that you're watching. And I should also say that I have that airplane's probably loud, is that I have experimented with, trying to play around in the hypnagogic state, not necessarily going for wilds, because I can get to the hypnagogic state very consistently, but to actually have that transition into a wild is more rare for me. So I have been playing around with getting to hypnagogia on my back, on my left, or on my right side. I cannot lie, on my stomach freaks my back out, have a hard time falling asleep. And I mean, if anything, personally, I noticed that lying on my back is the easiest. But I would say that's simply because that's how I like to go to sleep. I'll oftentimes end up later on in the night, on my right or left side, but I always start out on my back. And so I'm very used to accessing the hypnagogic liminal dream area that way. Plus, I do also find that it helps. I seem to be a bit more alert when I'm on my back, so I'm able to pay attention to these images that are popping up in my liminal dream space more readily. As opposed to when I'm on my side, it's almost like I'm more tired and I feel more lazy. So I'm not going to be as mentally engaged as I am when I'm on my back. I also like meditating on my back too as well. A lot of times when my back starts to get sore on me, it hurts if I have to sit up for long periods of time. So even if I'm doing a straight up, awake style meditation where I don't plan on falling asleep, I'm not trying to do hypnagogic meditation or anything like that. I do like to meditate, kind of reclined, laying backwards. Where am I? The same can't be said, however, for left-sided dreaming, wherein choice appears to be a far greater feature of the whole thing, with each dream session being entirely steady and stable to the point. Here he talks a bit about lying on your back. Adopting the sleeping position of lying either on one's front or back in this instance does not appear to have any particularly noticeable or discernible effect compared with that of lying on either side. And then he ends it by saying, however, that might merely be something personal to me, so to himself. So maybe that's just a little quirk of his own practice and something that he noticed, which can't hurt to share. Something I will say too, though, is he likes to be lying on your left side. However, in Tibetan dream yoga, it's been many years since I read this book, but I just did a quick Google search on it to make sure I was right on this. But they actually recommend going to sleep and lying down on your right side. And I think that might be different for men and women because of like some key channel flow stuff. But at least from Googling it right now and going off from memory, it did recommend that for your dream yoga, which is basically a lucid dreaming practice, the ancient Tibetan approach to it, they specifically recommend lying down on your right side for their, lucid dreaming practice. But anyway, with that said, I think we'll leave it there. And until the next video, keep your lucid dreaming practice legit.